Hi, I'm Alyn Woods. I'm on One Tree Hill, and I am with FrConventions. So I love that you bring up that Deb evolved. I don't know if evolve is the right term, actually. She kind of regressed, I think. But I love what happened to her character because she was such a stable force, you know, for her son, for her husband. At the beginning, she was like the voice of reason, sort of like Karen. And then as time went on, she became more human and, in my opinion, a lot more fun to play. And I think that's why the fans can relate to her, because she's not perfect. And I really do love that about her. I get so many of the fans coming up to me telling me how much they can relate to the character, and I want to say I'm so sorry that you relate to her, but I think it's just because of everything she's been through and how she kind of went on that downward spiral, and that she kind of found her way back again, that the fans really love her. She always came from a place of love. I randomly had this Reddit feed show up on my phone the other day, and it was labeled Deb. I thought there's no way that's me, but it was. And they were talking about how she handled the situation when the kids got married. And I say kids because they were kids. And even at the time when I read the script and I, was in the scene of how I treated them when I found out, I don't think I was aware of how young they were, because at the time my kids were so little, but they were so young. And so Deb reacted in such a human way. And so some people were faulting her for that, but some people said, no, they were so young, but they were in high school. Like, any mother would react that way. And if they didn't, they wouldn't be true to them or to, to the kids or whatever. But those kids were young. Nathan and Haley were really young. So anyway, I kind of went on a tangent, but there you go. He was fairly new. This was one of his first jobs, and what I've always respected about James, and he just keeps getting better and better. Like, he's just so impressive. He's just an impressive person. But even from day one, he asked questions and was never afraid to ask a question. If there was anything he didn't understand, he would speak up. And I just so respected that. He didn't have to pretend to be someone that he wasn't. And I just saw him, he was so good. He had such a raw talent because he had never worked, but he just grew and grew and grew as an actor, and then ended up directing the show. And now he's, creating his own series. He's just an easy person to be around, and was always very respectful, as he was to everybody, not just me. I just think it was easy playing his mom. Always easy. Yeah, actually, we were neighbors. We were neighbors when we ended up having kids, and neighbors, like her backyard backed onto my backyard, so our kids could like run and see each other. And we were, everybody else was so young and they were out partying at RAF, and Moira and I would just go home and take care of the kids. I mean, it was a whole different life that we were leading. And such a beautiful life, living in Wilmington and the beach, and my favorite place in the world. So we just had a different life, and nobody else could relate except to each other what we were going through during One Tree Hill. And I also love with the characters that they were like this at the beginning, obviously for good reason, but then they ended up being friends, and that just made such a good statement on like female friends in general. Yeah, I love Moira. I mean, I miss being her neighbor. Well, first of all, let me say, becoming a grandmother, I was pregnant at the time. So I was very pregnant at the time. And so they had to shoot around my stomach and my enormous, you know what. because they just got so. But it was funny because I was hiding my bump with a baby blanket holding the new baby. And there was one scene where I was holding the baby and my baby was kicking, and the baby, the actual baby, was right there next to the baby. I'm like, oh my God, the babies are communicating with each other. And I was like, who has ever played a grandmother while they're pregnant? Like, it was really great. But I liked it, like, you know, even though Deb was going downhill with all her habits and, you know, her young boyfriends and all the terrible things she was doing, the kids on the show, and I keep saying kids, but they kept coming to her for advice. I know that Lucas came to her for advice at one point, and I wished in a way that they had written more of that into the show, because I love the idea of like the kids going to the adults because they've been there. Yeah. Actually, I bring that up because Lucas and Deb had a great scene in the cafe, and it's one of my favorite scenes. And I just said, yeah, like, hang in there. You know, you're doing everything right. Just hang in there. I'm sad as we do these conventions that there's so many characters that Deb never crossed paths with. Daphne being one of them. I'm not embarrassed to say I don't know her character name because we never had a scene together, but it would have been so much fun. Like the two wacky moms, you know, she sort of took my place of wackiness after I left. But yeah, I would love to have had some scenes with Daphne or more scenes with Lucas. Yeah. You know what though, you know, I'm not complaining about anything. Like, it all worked out great. I love that, you know, I had so much time with Paul because he was one of the best scene partners that anybody could ever ask for. And what a job he did at becoming like this icon on the show, but still remaining lovable when he was such a jerk. You know, like, he did so many things that pissed off all of us, not Paul, Dan. But the fans still loved him. And I don't know how you pull that off, but he did, somehow. Yeah, well, it's really weird because I think it's weird for all of us that they are all either the same age or older than Paul and I were, Craig, when we were playing parents on the show. And when they see it that way, it's like, wow, I thought you were really old at the time, but wow, I feel really old now. So life, man, it goes by quickly. Appreciate every day. I just think that she would be hanging out with Victoria. I think Victoria and Deb go off and, you know, start a company together or find some young guys to hang out with. Maybe they're married and I don't know. I just see Victoria and Deb together somehow and living exciting lives. Too many people slow down as they get older, and Victoria and Deb will just keep going to the end. Nothing's gonna hold them back. And I love the way they were both written. And I think somehow they've got to like live this life together and show women in general that you don't need to stop. You can keep going and be, you know, energetic, and there's no point in slowing down. Like, you can keep up. It's all good.